Hello, everybody. You're welcome to Just for Women Africa, and my name is Olaliko Amusot, the founder of Just for Women Africa. And on today's show, we have with us Portia. Portia lived in Canada and she moved back to Ghana. She'll be talking to us about her experience. She also runs an NGO and she's a model. She'll be talking to us about that. So stick around, don't go away, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Hello, Portia. You're welcome to Just for Women Africa.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Reading your profile, you lived in Canada for a while. Mm-hmm. How long were you there for, and why did you decide to move back to Ghana?
I was there for, I'd say, 70% of my life, so a few decades. And I decided to move back because, one, I'm from Ghana. My parents are Ghanaian, and it's just, Ghana has this sense of peace and calm and home that you have when you come and visit that like draws you to come here. So I just wanted to come experience that. And the world is your oyster in Ghana. Like, people think they want to go to where, I don't know, San Francisco or America for that dream. Ghana is where, if you have the right network, right resources, you can do anything you want here. So that's why I wanted to come.
Get back in Ghana. Okay, so having moved back to Ghana, what has been your experience been like? I mean, you hear most foreigners who come into Ghana say like, Ghana is slow. You know, they take their time in doing stuff. Do you get that feeling?
Oh yeah, Ghana is definitely slow. If you want fast pace, is not where to go. But coming from Canada, like, that's the same thing that they say about Canada. Like, Americans say Canada is very slow, very like calm. People are very like blasé about things, very relaxed about things. So the transition from there to here it's a similar kind of environment of slow pace, calmness, compared to a fast-paced place like America or Nigeria. So it wasn't that hard of an issue for me personally, but I can understand why it would be a problem for other people, because you would just get really frustrated easily by it.
All right, so apart from the fact that Ghana is slow and all that, what other stuff have you been experienced that has been a culture shock to you?
Culture shock, I guess it's the way that people here in everything are more like they're doing you a favor for doing their job that they're paid to do. That's a stark difference from Canada and here. I mean, in Canada, even if someone doesn't like their job, they're still doing their job, and there's still a certain level of customer service. They're not gonna be talking to you, treating you in a certain way that you're like, here you have to beg people to do their job in most fields. So it can be daunting, but once you figure it out or have your system of peace and calm, then you can get through it, I guess.
Okay, so if you're also watching, could you just illustrate when you say they feel like they're doing you a favor? Could you give an example?
Why are you trying to get me to say bad things about that? Is that
No. Just so that people out there can have an idea of what you're talking about. Because if somebody says you're doing you a favor, somebody will like, what is she talking about? What is she talking about?
Well, it's, I don't know, like, say, even an Uber driver, I don't know. Say you're calling a car. Their job is to come and get you, but they're gonna act like them coming to get you is them doing you a favor. Like, they didn't need to come and get you, so they're gonna call you, be like, where are you going? Oh, I don't want to go there, but okay, I'll come there anyways. But try and get more money on top, or try and like trick you. But there's just this inherent sense of, I don't need to do this job, but I'm doing it for you kind of thing. But it's like, yeah, you do need to do this job. What job would you do otherwise? Or a server or something like, I don't need to come and serve you and make you be satisfied. I'm just gonna hang out over there. And if you call me, then you have to call them to come and do their work. And then they'll kind of, depending on where you are, most places they might give you attitude. And then it's like they're dragging their feet. A lot of people drag their feet to do their job, and will drag their feet as much as they possibly can to frustrate you. And unless you like slip them something to motivate them to do their job, they won't do their job. So that's kind of like what it means.
Okay. All right. So in a situation like that, how do you handle it?
Of people not doing their job?
They feel like doing you a favor. Do you just get up and leave, or you just get somebody else?
Oh, well, the initial strategy has been getting somebody else, and that has not been working recently. I'm like currently on my third carpenter for an easy job that I wanted to do.
Oh, artisans and other story.
So I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. So it's a process. You just have to be in for the ride, basically.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So this is Just Women Africa. What's your perception about women in West Africa, in Ghana,
Just a general perception.
compared to women back in Canada?
Oh no, I shouldn't be comparing to Canada. Women are.
Okay. Let me rephrase. What being here in West Africa? What's your observation been about women? What do you think they should be doing or not be doing?
My observation is that the women here, it's not a complacency, and they allow a lot of things to happen that shouldn't happen. They don't really fight against ill treatment as much. Everybody kind of lets it happen, hush hush, or I think that's a major difference between Canada and Ghana. Like in Canada, even though we are still somewhat of a quiet type of people that kind of brush things under the carpet, at some point in time, people still stand up for something like, hey, you're treating me poorly, or wage issues, or women's rights issues, or inequalities, or whatever it is. They will eventually stand up for themselves. But here, they don't. And then they help perpetuate the negative systems that are keeping the woman down. And I think our president, when he was put in the corner at a women's conference, I don't know what he was doing there, but he was there at the World Women's Conference, and he also voiced something that was similar to that, even though what he was saying was slightly silly, because in all systems, it's only the people who are in power that have the power to change it. The people who are oppressed can only do so much, they can only complain so much. But he was kind of like, well, are the women ready to be in power? And it's like, yes, they are, but the women themselves will also back him up in that kind of silly thing that he would say. Like, yeah, have you seen? We're not ready, are we? It's like, no, lady. They don't back each other up as much. They kind of just follow the system for whatever their personal benefits. They don't want to be the scapegoat.
That's an interesting perception. It's very interesting perception.
Yeah, that's a general. But then on the flip side, there's a lot of people, well, especially now with a lot of people returning, or a lot of people who went to like college or school outside, not just diasporans or African Americans coming back, just a lot of people in their 20s and 30s who did some level of education abroad, or even just some internship or something, went outside and have come back. They have a different mindset to those above 40s, 50s, 60s. Mm-hmm. And so they are building a very sisterhood community lately. They're building more togetherness, more support of each other, but then that's within each other. and then the latest generation was Gen
Gen
Zs.
Zs, yeah.
Gen Zs have the pleasure of living in a completely different mindset and world than the previous generation. So they're also more open, more about relationships, and so they also have like deep rooted sisterhoods and connections and support each other's businesses and those things at a more than you were seeing previously of the older generations.
Okay, that's an interesting view. Very interesting view. Okay, and what's your perception about Ghanaian men?
Oh, they're there.
In a good way, in a good way, in a bad way.
This is when I did a previous interview and I got and people were like, oh my god, I got berated. But Ghanaian men are, the thing is here, Ghanaian men, there's two things. Let me speak on two things. So one, in a business sense or in a, Ghanaian men have obvious privilege, it's the patriarchy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they don't even, a lot of them don't even recognize this. Like the things that I've heard from some men, like they don't even believe there's a wage gap between men and women, a lot of them here. I was like, oh, are you serious? They're like, it's the woman's fault. What she asked for is what she got. I was like, what? I have been pursued for jobs a lot. I said I didn't want to work for anybody ever, but I tell people I'll do like contract work. I'll just do some temporary, but I don't want to get enslaved by anyone and be a full-time employee. But I have had people, after they've been pursuing me to work for them, then they still say at the same time, like when it's, because I'm very contractual, I want them to talk in terms of like business and stuff. And when I'm talking about like pay and things, they'll say more like, well, you're not married and you don't have children. So they are basing my pay off of that, not basing off of the job that needs to be done or the position that needs to be done. They base it off of those things, which is not accurate. They'll say that, and then they've said a few times, a few CEOs, bosses have said that, well, they're going to pay a guy more because the guy has to supplement his girlfriend's salary or his wife's salary.
Yes, did they tell you that?
Yes! And then they have told me, one perv, as usual, it's one person is like, well, I could just date them and they'll supplement my salary. I'm like, oh, great. Or the other person, and another person said, well, I can get a boyfriend for them to supplement my salary. Like, instead of having a set salary for a position, whether it's a man or a woman who gets it, they get it. They'll put in all these other factors. Well, the guy has to do this and this. The girl also has to do that. It's about the task, not about the gender. And because a lot of men aren't experiencing those conversations because they're a man, they'll be interacted with in a very different level. They're not going to be flirted with by their boss to have unnecessary meetings or dinners after work. They don't have to deal with that. So they think it doesn't exist because it's not happening to them. But that's, a lot of humans act that way, especially people in levels of privilege. Something that hasn't happened to them doesn't exist. And that's wrong. So a lot of men, unfortunately, think that way here. And so then they don't sympathize with women. And that's why they have issues with this, with feminism. They think it's like bogus. They're like, what's the point in that? And for a lot of people are misrepresenting feminism, honestly, because feminism is just about women having dominion over their lives, like having a say in what they do and how they want to do it. That's all. And having equal rights and opportunities as men. That's it. But some people have kind of twisted it, and so it is what it is. But so yeah, so men, not a lot of them are allies to women here, and they don't even believe that the women here have an issue. And then they are just a very special species here. That's it.
A very special species. What's the way to describe men in Ghana?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so all that you said about men and the fact that they don't believe that there's that disparity in level of salaries and all that. Do you think those perceptions will ever change? Do you think women in Ghana are fighting towards that change? Or they don't get to embrace it and just say, oh, that's women are, that's where the society is. It's a man's world.
See, the problem is there are a lot of women who are helping continue the system, which is a problem. But there's more and more, you're seeing more and more vocal women lately, and more women trying to push back against the system. So I think it'll change, give it a decade or maybe less, give it some years, because as the older generation phases out, I think hopefully it will change. Hopefully the younger generation isn't jaded and their minds aren't influenced by the older generation to continue that, because that's what happens a lot of the time. That's how the systems keep going, because your mom had it like that, or your boss had it like that, and you had it like that. So why doesn't the new employee to have it like that? And you pass those kind of things on, or on to your kids. And yeah, so I think it will eventually get change. I'm going to say better, because from my perspective it's better, but from, say, a privileged man, it won't be better for them. Mm-hmm. It'll be like you're taking away their privileges. Nobody's going to be happy about that. But it'll be better for women. A better world for women is a better world for all.
Okay, those interesting views, Portia. Very interesting views. Very interesting views. Okay, so you run an NGO. Could you tell us briefly about that?
Yes. So I have a philanthropic spirit. I guess it's not a thing everybody has, but I've always wanted to help people. So I, even in high school in Canada, we did volunteering, and post graduation I was also still volunteering. And I always knew I wanted to have an NGO here. I actually want to have a whole center, wellness center, but have my steps. So the NGO is the beginning of that. And so when I initially came in 2015. I tried to register it, but it didn't work out. So then I changed my strategy and decided I would just support each year a different NGO. But that's still part of my NGO's philosophy. Pairing and partnering with others who are doing similar things as me, and we support each other to get to the same end goal, to help as many people as possible. So currently the NGO is always about health and education to eradicate poverty. That's the major focus. That's our mission. And one of our major projects that we're working on to do that is period poverty eradication. And period poverty is when you lack access or available, you lack the access to period hygiene products, which are pads or period cups or tampons or all those products. So you can't afford it. You can't have it. And that makes you, and period poverty is a global issue. It's not just in Ghana. But in Ghana and in West Africa, it affects you in terms of school dropouts still happening. So a week at a time, they miss school, they end up dropping out, and then they end up going to, like, the people up north, they'll come down to be kais in the streets, in the markets, living on the streets. Or it also results in some girls will be prostituting themselves to the older men who are preying on them, who tell them that they'll provide them with those luxuries, because pads to them are luxury items. Mm-hmm. They're actually considered luxury items by the government. There's a luxury tax of 20% on it for items that are necessary. All women have periods, well, majority. So it causes, due to lack of access to pads, you get teens prostituting themselves, you get high teen pregnancy rates, you get high infant, poor infant birth rates, and infants that are malformed. There's a high birth rate of that as well because of the malnourished or underprivileged teen who had the baby. And then it's a never-ending cycle of newborns who are in need, products of poor environments, teens who are in need, products of poor environments, and just more people in the streets. That just keeps going on and on. So we provide pads and period cups. Period cups are sustainable, reusable products that last for a decade. So you just give one girl one, and that's one less issue that they have to deal with. And it's also good on the environment. So we do our best to outsource and provide for these girls, get the funding to provide for these girls. And right now we are providing for about 5 elementary schools, 3 high schools, and several trade school girls in the Upper West region. Once I work on getting more steady or significant funding for them, then I would expand that system into other regions as well.
Okay. That's great. Nice to know. So how do you get the products, the pads and stuff? You get companies donating to you?
Yeah, I get private citizens and companies as well. So the previous, I skipped over every 3 months. I usually donate, but I didn't donate in this last quarter. But the quarter before that, I had corporate funding from 2 companies. One is Afro. It's a drink, a local Akpatashi distillery company, and they make other drinks as well. They donated, and also concierge companies, so that we voyage. So I had those 2 corporate sponsors, and then I had individual donors, private citizens, and then myself. I always do what I can to fund as well.
Okay, that's nice. I agree with you on that. I definitely do agree with that. And we'll be putting down your donation numbers in the description below. So if anybody wants to help Portia's Foundation, you can just send your donation through the account numbers and phone numbers if you're in Ghana, mobile money. Right.
Or PayPal. If you're in Canada, e-transfer, I take it all. Yeah.
Thank you, Portia, for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We look forward to interviewing again in the future.
Sure. Why not? I'll be back again.
Sure. And to our viewers, don't forget to like, subscribe, tell a friend who knows a friend about Just Women Africa. And to the next show from Portia and I to be. Bye.
Bye.